What if I told you that one of the most powerful ways to reclaim your leg strength, especially if you've been feeling that frustrating slowdown, a persistent weakness, or an uncheckable fatigue isn't hidden in a high-tech gym, a complex exercise routine, or even the latest miracle pill? What if the key to revitalizing those crucial muscles, the very foundation of your mobility and independence, was waiting for you right now in your own kitchen? Imagine discovering that a single everyday food, when understood and utilized with a little bit of know-how, could start to reawaken your neuromuscular function in as little as 12 hours. This isn't a far-fetched dream. It's the cutting edge of nutritional science. We're talking about a fundamental shift in how we approach muscle health, moving beyond just eating healthy to strategically fueling our bodies for power and resilience. If the thought of stronger, more energetic legs by tomorrow morning sparks your curiosity, then you absolutely cannot afford to miss what's coming next. This is about more than just feeling better. It's about reclaiming a vital part of yourself. Let's dive into a truly eye-opening piece of research that landed in the prestigious Journal of Clinical Nutrition. In 2023, scientists observed adults over 50 and made a remarkable discovery. When these individuals consumed a specific type of food in the evening, something incredible happened. By the very next morning, they saw measurable improvements in muscle protein synthesis. That's the process your body uses to build and repair muscle, and a boost in mitochondrial activity. Think of mitochondria as the tiny biological power plants within your cells, the engines that drive energy, recovery, and ultimately your strength. This is particularly critical for your legs, as they are often the first place we notice the creeping signs of age-related decline. But this isn't just about looking good or being able to take longer walks. It's about something far more profound: your independence, your confidence in your own body, and the quality of your years ahead. When leg strength begins to fade, it's not just a minor inconvenience, it's a cascade of changes. Climbing stairs suddenly feels like conquering a mountain. Your balance might become a bit shaky, making you hesitant. Your overall energy levels dip, and it's all too easy to chalk it up to the inevitable march of time. I'm just getting older. But here's a truth bomb. Your calendar age isn't the main villain in the story of muscle decline. The more significant culprits are often chronic undernourishment at a cellular level, a persistent low-grade inflammation simmering beneath the surface, and a disruption of your body's natural internal clocks, known as circadian rhythms. In essence, it's less about how many birthdays you've had, and far more about your internal biology, what you eat, when you eat it, and how these choices interact with your intricate nervous system and powerful muscles. This is about understanding how specific foods can kickstart your muscle energy. And we're going to explore exactly how. For decades, the prevailing belief was that muscle loss with age was primarily due to atrophy, the simple shrinking of muscle fibers from disuse, or those inevitable hormonal declines. But neuroscience is now painting a far more detailed and surprisingly more hopeful picture. What researchers are uncovering is a game changer. Much of the muscle you think you've lost isn't actually gone, it's just disconnected. Imagine a powerful stereo system where the speakers are perfectly fine, but the wires connecting them to the amplifier are frayed or loose. The potential for sound is still there, but the signal isn't getting through. Here's what the science tells us. Starting as early as our 40s, the motor neurons, those critical communication lines that connect your brain and spinal cord to your muscles, especially in your legs, can begin to degrade or lose their efficiency. This disconnect leads to reduced electrical signaling. In simpler terms, your muscles aren't fully receiving the contract message from your brain. They're still there, capable and waiting, but they're essentially idle. A groundbreaking study from the University of Calgary found that even adults experiencing declining leg strength still retained the structural potential for robust muscle activity. The real issue wasn't the muscle itself, but the neuromuscular signaling, the communication. The muscle wasn't dead, it was just waiting to be brought back online. Have you ever experienced that? You stand up from a chair and feel a moment of wobbliness for no apparent reason. Or perhaps you've noticed your legs tiring out much faster than they used to, even if your daily routine hasn't changed. That's not just aging in the vague sense. That's often a clear sign of this neural communication breakdown. And the truly exciting part, there are ways to repair it. Your spinal cord plays a crucial role here, acting as a vital relay station for movement commands. To maintain its signal fidelity, it relies on continuous nutrient-driven support. Think of your leg muscles as a team of highly skilled workers, and your nervous system as the foreman shouting instructions through a megaphone. If the megaphone's battery is dying, performance plummets. But if you can effectively recharge that battery, the team gets back to work often with surprising speed. One of the fastest ways to achieve this is to fuel the neuromuscular junction, the precise point where your nerves meet your muscles with key nutrients that restore signaling efficiency. Certain amino acids, B vitamins, and compounds that your body uses to make crucial neurotransmitters can dramatically improve these connections, sometimes within hours. And this is precisely where specific foods come into play. You're about to discover that this isn't just about feeding your muscles in a general sense. It's about reactivating them by providing the specific building blocks your nervous system craves to regenerate communication. So before you even worry about building more muscle, let's ask a more fundamental question. Is your nervous system actually using the muscle you already possess? Often, leg weakness is far more about signal quality than muscle quantity. There's a fascinating moment, just seconds after you eat, when your body begins to scan what you've consumed. It's not just looking for calories. It's searching for specific molecular cue signals that tell it what to do next. And one of the most powerful signals it eagerly anticipates is an amino acid called leucine. Leucine is an essential amino acid, meaning your body can't manufacture it on its own. You absolutely have to get it from your food, but its importance stretches far beyond basic nutrition. Leucine is what scientists call an anabolic trigger. In simple terms, it's a direct message to your cells that it's time to grow and repair. Here's how it works. It's magic. Research clearly shows that leucine directly activates a critical cellular pathway known as MTO, short for mammalian target of rapamycin. Imagine MTO as the central control tower for muscle protein synthesis, the process of building new muscle tissue. Leucine is like the finger that decisively flips the on switch in that control tower. A compelling study published in the Journal of Nutrition back in 2011 demonstrated this beautifully. Researchers found that a single meal high in leucine could significantly ramp up mTOR activity and stimulate muscle protein synthesis even in older adults. This is incredibly important because, as we age, our muscles can become somewhat resistant to these anabolic growth signals. It's like the on switch gets a bit sticky. But leucine has the remarkable ability to override that resistance. In fact, it's one of the very few nutrients scientifically shown to do so, and often within just a few hours of consumption. Have you ever eaten a meal that you thought was high in protein, yet you still felt tired, or noticed a lingering weakness in your legs? The issue might not have been the overall quantity of protein, but the quality on specifically the timing of leucine intake. Many older adults, without even realizing it, consume just enough protein to prevent significant muscle breakdown, but not enough leucine at the right times to actively stimulate muscle growth and repair. This is why the source and timing of your protein are so profoundly important. A simple, actionable tool you can apply immediately is this. Focus your first substantial meal of the day around a food source that is naturally rich in leucine. Animal proteins like eggs, beef, chicken, and particularly whey protein are among the highest natural sources. You don't need massive amounts, just 2.5 to 3 g of leucine, which you can typically get from around 25 to 30 grams of high-quality protein, is often enough to effectively trigger that mTOR pathway and switch on muscle repair. And if you're looking for a highly efficient shortcut, whey protein isolate is one of the best, as it contains an ideal ratio of leucine and other essential amino acids. This is why it's a go-to for athletes and, increasingly, for clinicians working with seniors who want to rapidly restore muscle function. But remember, this isn't just about muscle recovery in isolation. It's about reconnection. What's happening in your brain and muscles after consuming leucine-rich protein is more than just growth. It's enhanced communication. You're helping to restore a vital biochemical conversation between your nervous system and your muscle fibers. And the faster that conversation resumes, the quicker your legs can begin to feel stable, strong, and truly alive again. Every time you decide to move, to stand up, take a step, or rise from a chair, your brain initiates a signal. But this signal doesn't just zap directly to your muscles like an electrical current through a wire. Instead, it first gets translated into a chemical messenger, vital neurotransmitter, called acetylcholine. Think of acetylcholine as the spark plug for your muscles. It's the neurotransmitter directly responsible for neuromuscular transmission, that precise, intricate process by which a thought in your brain becomes a physical movement. Without enough acetylcholine, your muscles don't fire properly. They might misfire, respond with a delay, or in some cases simply fail to respond with the force you intend. This becomes increasingly critical as we age. Scientific studies have shown that both acetylcholine production and the sensitivity of its receptors can decline over time, especially in the motor neurons that connect to the muscles in our legs. This is one of the underlying reasons why even small lapses in balance or a noticeable delay in muscle response can become more common in older adults. But here's where the science offers exciting solutions. Research has demonstrated that choline, the precursor molecule your body uses to manufacture acetylcholine, can rapidly help restore this crucial signaling capacity. A 2012 review published in the journal Nutrients highlighted that increasing dietary choline can significantly boost acetylcholine synthesis in less than 6 to 12 hours, especially when the brain is actively demanding motor coordination, like when you're moving. So what common food can give you this powerful edge? Eggs, particularly the yolks, are the richest natural source of choline. Just 2 whole eggs can deliver over 300 milligrams of choline, which your body readily converts into acetylcholine, helping to restore that vital motor control pathway. This isn't just a nutritional fact. It's a functional protocol you can implement. If you're someone who feels their legs are slow to respond, or if you've noticed occasional tremors, instability, or a decrease in power when walking or standing, try this simple morning ritual. Consume 2 whole eggs within about 30 minutes of waking up. Ideally, pair them with a leucine-rich protein source, like a scoop of whey protein or some cottage cheese. Why the morning? Because motor neurons tend to be more responsive to nutrient input early in the day, especially since acetylcholine synthesis can naturally be lower after a night's sleep. You're essentially giving your body the exact raw materials it needs to re-establish clear neuromuscular command right when it needs it most. Have you ever noticed how much more confident and assured your steps feel after a protein-rich, choline-rich breakfast? That's not just a placebo effect. It's your central nervous system firing with sharper precision. Choline isn't just supporting your muscles. It's upgrading the communication line between your brain and your legs. For those who are plant-based or avoid eggs, don't worry. Other good sources of choline include soybeans, Brussels sprouts, and quinoa. Though it's worth noting that the bioavailability, how well your body can absorb and convert it, is generally highest in egg yolks. And there's an added bonus. Acetylcholine doesn't just activate muscles. It's also a major player in focus, learning, and memory. So when you boost your brain's acetylcholine levels, you're often improving both physical control and cognitive clarity. A fantastic double win for aging vibrantly. Imagine trying to nurture a beautiful garden, but the hose delivering vital water is kinked and constricted. No matter how rich the soil or how much sunlight the plants receive, they simply won't thrive. This is a perfect analogy for what happens inside your muscles, particularly in your legs, when blood flow becomes restricted or inefficient. As we age, the arteries and capillaries that diligently supply our lower limbs with life-giving blood can often become narrower and less responsive. This directly impairs oxygen delivery, nutrient transport to the muscle cells, and the efficient removal of metabolic waste products, 3 absolute pillars of muscle performance and recovery. The unfortunate result: legs that feel heavy, perpetually tired, or frustratingly slow to respond even. If you're diligently focusing on adequate protein intake and regular exercise, poor circulation can silently sabotage your strength from within. The key molecule that masterfully regulates the dilation widening of your blood vessels is nitric oxide. No. It's a naturally produced gas, synthesized in your endothelial cells, delicate cells that form the inner lining of your blood vessels. Nitric oxide essentially tells your blood vessels when to relax and widen, allowing more blood to flow through. What's truly fascinating is that nitric oxide production is highly dependent on what you eat. And one of the most potent natural boosters of this incredible molecule is found in a humble root vegetable, beets. Beets, especially when consumed raw or juiced, are packed with dietary nitrates. Your body cleverly converts these nitrates into nitric oxide. A compelling 2015 study published in the Journal of Applied Physiology discovered that older adults who consumed beetroot juice experienced a significant improvement in their leg muscle power within just hours of intake. This effect was particularly noticeable in fast-twitch muscle fibers, which are absolutely essential for quick movements, maintaining balance, and preventing falls. This isn't some marginal, barely detectable gain. The improvements were clearly measurable in real-world movement tests like walking speed, chair stand tests, and even stair climbing ability. Here's a simple, effective tool you can use. Try drinking about 250 to 300 milliliters, around 8 to 10 ounces of beetroot juice, or eating 1 to 2 medium-sized beets approximately 90 minutes before any planned physical activity. This timing allows the dietary nitrates sufficient opportunity to convert into nitric oxide and begin enhancing vasodilation, opening up those crucial blood pathways. Want to take it even further? Combine this with about 20 minutes of light brisk walk, some gentle cycling, or a session of dynamic stretching. Movement itself amplifies nitric oxide production, especially when your body is already loaded with dietary nitrates. Think of it as priming the hose and then turning up the water pressure simultaneously. Some people might worry about the sugar content in beets, but the glycemic load, how much it impacts blood sugar, is relatively low, and for most, the performance benefits, especially when consumed before activity, far outweigh any minor concerns about sugar. You can also easily buffer this by pairing it with a protein source or some fiber-rich greens. Understanding and leveraging the power of nitric oxide through foods like beets is a game changer for delivering energy and nutrients directly to where your legs need them most. You may not always feel it as a sharp, immediate pain, but it's often there like a low, steady hum in the background of your body's systems. This is chronic inflammation. Unlike the acute, obvious inflammation that occurs after an injury like a sprained ankle, chronic inflammation is far more subtle, systemic, affecting the whole body, and unfortunately, over time, this simmering, low-grade fire slowly erodes muscle function, and your legs are particularly vulnerable to its effects. Here's what the cutting-edge research reveals. Even seemingly low levels of chronic inflammation can lead to a noticeable decline in muscle strength, coordination, and your body's capacity for muscle regeneration. A significant 2020 study, published in the Journals of Gerontology, found a strong link. Elevated levels of key inflammatory markers in the blood, particularly C-reactive protein, CRP, and interleukin-6, IL-6, were strongly associated with reduced muscle mass and strength in older adults, even when their physical activity levels and general nutrition seemed adequate. So what's actually happening inside your body when this chronic inflammation takes hold? Essentially, inflammation interferes with muscle protein synthesis, the building process, increases oxidative stress, cellular damage, and disrupts mitochondrial function, those very engines that power your muscle contractions. It also negatively affects your nervous system's ability to efficiently recruit muscle fibers, which means that even if the muscle is technically there, the signal to activate it becomes weaker and less effective. Now here's the surprising and empowering part. One of the most potent tools we have for reducing this chronic, smoldering fire isn't typically found in the supplement aisle. It's readily available in your produce drawer. We're talking about dark leafy greens. Think spinach, kale, arugula, chard, and mustard greens. These aren't just vaguely nutrient-dense. They are anti-inflammatory powerhouses. They are packed with high levels of polyphenols, chlorophyll, magnesium, and nitrate compounds, all of which actively support your body's natural ability to downregulate inflammatory pathways. In particular, a polyphenol called quist, abundantly in kale and mustard greens, has been scientifically shown to directly inhibit inflammatory cytokines like IL-6 and TNF. A study highlighted in Frontiers in Pharmacology in 2019 reported that regular intake of quist-enriched foods can lead to a reduction in inflammation markers within just 2 to 4 weeks, especially when this dietary strategy is combined with moderate, regular exercise. A simple science-backed protocol to implement this is to include at least 1 packed cup of dark leafy greens with your first meal of the day. Why the first meal? Because it helps to set a positive tone for inflammatory regulation across your entire circadian rhythm, that internal 24-hour clock that governs immune and hormonal responses. For an added boost, try combining them with a source of healthy fat like a drizzle of olive oil or some avocado. To enhance the absorption of fat-soluble antioxidants like vitamin K and beta-carotene, a squeeze of lemon or a splash of apple cider vinegar can also aid digestion and nutrient uptake. It's important to note that these foods don't work like fast-acting painkillers. You won't necessarily feel a dramatic effect overnight. However, over time, often, in as little as 10 to 14 days of consistent intake, you may begin to notice less soreness, faster recovery from activity, more stable energy levels, and a renewed, resilient feeling of strength in your legs. This is where nutrition transcends being mere fuel and becomes a powerful regulatory signal, effectively telling your immune system, "We're safe." You can power down the excessive inflammation When it comes to regaining and maintaining leg strength, what you eat is undeniably crucial, but it's only half of the story. When you eat may be just as profoundly important, especially as we navigate the changes that come with age. You see, every time you consume a meal containing protein, you trigger a vital biological process called muscle protein synthesis. This is the fundamental mechanism by which your body repairs existing muscle tissue and builds new muscle. It's essentially your body's internal command, saying, "Let's grow and get stronger." However, there's a common challenge. As we get older, that "let's grow" signal can sometimes get weaker or less efficient. This is due to a phenomenon known as anabolic resistance, where your muscles become somewhat less responsive to the protein you consume. So, even if you're diligently eating what you believe to be enough protein overall, if the timing of that protein intake is off, your body might not be fully utilizing it to rebuild and strengthen your muscles, particularly in your legs. So what's the scientifically supported fix for this? Research clearly shows that distributing your protein-rich meals more evenly across the day, starting with a significant portion at breakfast, can significantly improve muscle maintenance and growth, especially in the legs and lower body. A revealing 2014 study from the University of Texas made this point strikingly clear. Researchers found that individuals who consumed roughly equal amounts of protein at breakfast, lunch, and dinner exhibited 25% higher rates of muscle protein synthesis compared to those who skewed their protein intake heavily towards the dinner meal. Why this significant difference? Because each well-timed protein meal acted as a separate, distinct stimulus for muscle